Hello everyone, hope all of you are doing good. So now we are entering the third week of DAM, okay? So let's see. I want to just emphasize on one thing, that I am seeing that there is a steady improvement in the third week, wherein students have started to write some answers. So the zero count of the poll voting that we do on the group has reduced to some extent. But still students are not able to write every day that I can observe. There is not a single vote which says that I have written all the 10 answers, because we every day give 2 questions. So I will still urge that you should get your answers evaluated, and you should also write all the answers every day, okay? Only then I am sure that your improvement will happen and you will come in tandem with the vision that we are giving you to crack 2024 attempt, all right? Because once you write until September, you will also get that confidence that you have written like the main student, okay? And you will also get a lot of feedback. So after September, then that improvement level, okay, because of that enhanced confidence will go to a very different extent, all right? So write every day, listen every day, do the value additions that we are giving in the videos. I hope it is helping all of you, all right? So come, let's move to day 16, very important topics asked by UPSC many times. So yes, Syed Ahmed Khan has been asked only twice since 2012. Aurobindo keeps repeating. M.N. Roy has also been asked only twice, okay? But yes, Aurobindo Ghosh has been asked many times. So in Syed Ahmed Khan, key dimension is his evolution of his political thought, what is the scientific thinking he brought, how he tried to distinguish between the spiritual and the temporal domains of the Hindus and the Muslims, and how he fostered the movement towards Hindu-Muslim unity, even though in the later period there are challenges in this regard, okay? So before doing Syed Ahmed Khan, the key tradition is that what has been the contribution of the Islamic teachings, okay, in the Indian political thought. So you should always study the broad theme first. Like if you are studying Aurobindo, so you should study the idealist stream. How did idealist stream originated? And here you will be talking first of the Islamic thought, okay? So that gives you a very broad vision, and it also helps you to write better essays. So you can use all of this in your essays, all right? So Aurobindo, idealist stream, what he talks on liberalism, socialism, what are the challenges, how he is reconciling this philosophy, right? What he is talking on the renaissance of Hinduism, then about individual relation between individual and society and state, what he is talking on nationalism, this concept is very important. His ideal of human unity, okay? His idea on Swaraj, how he criticizes the British rule, okay? How he is critical of the political moderates, his theory of passive resistance, right? And whether he is an anarchist in that sense, and what views he gives on the state. M.N. Roy also, his ideational journey, right? Whether he was a Marxist, then he becomes, his critique of Gandhi, then he becomes follower of Gandhi. Why this evolution occurs, what are the reasons? Then he shifts to a completely different stream, which is the humanist stream of understanding things. And he gives the idea of radical humanism. What is his concept of political systems? Like what he talks on democracy, the concept of radical democracy he gives. Why he talks of partyless democracy, these views also have to be studied in detail, okay? Now the question is asking, elaborate on Aurobindo's views on nationalism, all right? Let's move to how Aurobindo is understanding nationalism. Question 1, Aurobindo's views on nationalism. So actually, if you understand his underlying philosophy and objective, then you will be able to understand why he is talking of nationalism the way he is talking, okay? So what he wants to do, actually, he wants to establish a unique cultural I would say rather, rediscover in the phase of colonialism that India had faced, the cultural identity of India. Okay, why? Because this cultural identity, right, of India will lead to what kind of identity? It will lead to a national identity, which will be the basis of what? That what is the premise we are forming of this national identity will lead to national consciousness. It will be used to arise, to awaken the national consciousness of the people to overthrow the British rule. So yes, this is the underlying objective of Aurobindo. And what is his eventual goal? So actually, if you look at his eventual understanding, he wants to establish a universal moral order. Universal moral order, which means he wants the spiritual rejuvenation of mankind, the spiritual regeneration of mankind. And who does he think is the most appropriate to do this within all individuals across the globe? Breaking the national boundaries, breaking the national barriers, coming together as one and spiritually awakened individuals. Who will be establishing this universal moral order? Who has that capability? India has that capability, okay? Why? So that's why very well known as a synthesizer. Why he is known as synthesizer? What is he synthesizing? He is synthesizing the materialist tradition of the West with the spiritual tradition of India, and removing this dichotomy that exists between spirit, individual, society, matter, and other things. Okay? So he is synthesizing all this at what level? He is synthesizing all of this at the philosophical level. Okay? Fine? So you understood, and within this, after you understand what has been his key objective, that's why he gives what emphasis on nationalism, you will be able to understand in a better way. Okay? So firstly, we say that he is very well known as the structure of the question. Let's move. Prophet of Indian nationalism. Prophet of Indian nationalism. So actually nationalism, if we look at as a concept, it is a political creed, okay, right, where nation is one of the key bases of political reorganization. And nationalism is very contested because it has evoked different kind of emotions. It has also led to colonial tendencies, use of force, exploitative character. So it's a very contested idea. Okay, so what does Aurobindo say? Aurobindo say it is not merely a political creed as it has been understood, right? Neither it is an ideology or an intellectual idea that has been taken up in the West. It has a very different basis. And what is this different basis? He says nationalism has a spiritual basis. And where does this spiritual basis arrive from? This spiritual basis arises from idea of religion. And what is his idea of religion which he adheres to? He adheres to the Sanatan Dharma, obviously. So doing something, doing your duty as per your Atman, okay? That is the basics of Sanatan Dharma. So he is laying nationalism not as a political idea. He is giving it this religious character, he is giving it this spiritual character, he is giving it this cultural notion. Because we saw his objective. What was his objective? To establish this cultural identity of India, to rediscover this, which will be, you know, fulfilling, instilling this consciousness, national consciousness in people. Now, after also giving this nationalism religion character, which means it has divine basis. When it has divine basis, which means it comes from where? It comes from God. So if something comes from God, can it be completely shattered or destructed or killed? So colonial people, okay? They cannot kill this nationalism because it is not human creed. It is not generated by humans. It has come from God. So even if you want to crush it in the Indians, it will not be crushed because there is a divine basis. And what does he say? So he says, religion is like Bharat Mata or Mother India, which is there in the spirit like a mother in all its children and the Indians. So even if the colonial rulers, right, want to crush it, they will not be able to crush it. Now, so this idea of nationalism, is it very narrow? Is it talking of only, what do we say, ruling some people like the colonizers did? No. It is a very broad idea. It has spiritual basis. Fine? And this nationalism leads to the goal of what? So, because it is coming from God, because it is Mother India, because it is not a political creed, and it cannot be crushed, it is actually the destiny of Indians, and that's why it will lead to Swaraj, which cannot be destructed by the colonizers also. Okay, so this is the fundamental core of his idea. Right, now let's move specifically. So Aurobindo is a prophet of Indian nationalism, right? And actually if we see this philosophical synthesis, it comes from the Vedantic philosophy. And what is it? It is, right, unity between man, God, spirit, matter, which means man is not separated like that, okay? How it has been done in the West. There is no silos. Is it clear? So he derives it from the Vedanta philosophy where there is unity, right, and oneness in man and God. Because initially there has been supremacy of the Brahmins, which and other individuals will have to submit. So he says, no, there is a direct connect that is there, and there is a unity which exists between man and God. So he brings in this Vedanta philosophy to give it a spiritual basis. All right? He declared that India is what? Mother India, which means it represented united power and Shakti of millions of her children. All right? And Mother India is whom? God. Okay? So maintained it was God's divine mission to set India free. So God sent mission. So until it will be achieved, can any human being, even like the Britishers, crush it? No. Then he was an ardent nationalist. Okay? Nationalism is not only a mission, a goal of life, but end to be pursued vigorously like we pursue religion. Does religion end? Philosophy of religion end with any kind of changes in practice, changes of religion. But does the idea and the key tenets and principle completely change? Do they dissolve? No. The way of practicing religion changes, but its tenets do not. Okay? So like individual, nation also has what? A soul. And that soul grows. Fine? So nationalism is not simply intellectual idea, okay? Or any political program, right? Everything is integrated in a harmonious manner. And yes, there is a deep divine purpose. That's why nationalism survives, even if it is being crushed by the colonialism, because it is a God-sent mission. It is a divine mission, right? And this spiritual basis is his ultimate idea of establishing this universal moral order, which only India can do. Okay? Now, so Indian nationalism is different from European nationalism. So why? Because the goal of our nationalism is not simply ruling somebody or meeting our political goals. It is to establish universal moral order and spiritual regeneration of the mankind. Okay? So according to Haridas and Uma Mukherjee, right, it was a slogan because obviously it had to be done very opaquely. If it was not done opaquely in this sense, then the British would have crushed it. All right? And this is problematic according to many critics because the basis, as I said, is Sanatan Dharma. Okay, doing your duty as per your desire or as per the Atman, right? That is the philosophy that is there within Sanatan Dharma. So obviously he says, demand of Swaraj is corollary of the ideal of nationalism. Is it clear now? his idea, but yes, it created problem also in that way, because the basis is Hindu religion as the basis, and many Muslims felt that this is not in spirit with their religion or spiritual idea. Okay? So understood the broader philosophy of Aurobindo, how he is reconciling that and propagating his idea of nationalism. Okay? Fine. Now let's move to the next idea, radical humanism of M.N. Roy. This question is based on. So radical humanism advocates what? He says, a social reconstruction of the world as a commonwealth and fraternity of free men which enjoy freedom by cooperative endeavor of spiritually emancipated moral men. Okay? So how? So we have to elaborate in the concept of radical humanism. Now let's see Roy's idea. So there have been lot of philosophies that have been existing, right? Even humanism existed. It's not that Roy is the only one. So in Renaissance, there has been emphasis on humanism. But what is the basis of humanism which is different in Roy? Is he gives it a moral basis. He gives it a moral basis. Okay? Now, so when we say radical humanism, so first, so why humanism? What is he emphasizing on? He's emphasizing on the sovereignty of the individual to determine the life he wants to live. Okay? So it should not be a complete freedom like it is there in the liberal individualistic idea, neither it should be the socialism where individual is curbed. Okay? So Roy is saying sovereignty of individual to pursue his goal has to be maintained. Now why it is radical? So humanism तो अपने आप में ही इतना revolutionary idea है. Why it is radical? Because when he talks of radical humanism, he says, when we understand an individual, we understand him completely different from any identity he possesses. So what are the identities individual have? There is identity of religion, class, caste, gender, right? So he say ethnic. So there is no identity. You have to understand individual as an individual free of this identity. That's why his concept is radical humanism. Okay, only then we will be able to understand. So he gives some pillar, okay, for establishing this radical humanism. So what are the pillars he gives? So he says the first idea for any person is freedom, which means an individual should have freedom, okay, scope to do what one wants to do, right? The second idea is that that person has to have morality, which means he should also be concerned with respect to the social surroundings around him. He should have good conduct towards other human beings, not only be atomistic or egoistic in this sense. There has to be some moral basis to his character, okay? And reason. Why reason? Because he should be free from all the superstitions that exist, from all blindness, ignorance, okay? And reason makes us come out of any mythical beliefs, right? That's what Roy is saying. So first we will be talking about that why he is talking of this idea. He is a very great philosopher of the 20th century. We can see there has been an evolution in his thinking. Eventually he comes up with the concept of radical humanism, marking a shift which is very unique from all the existing philosophies. Why he emphasizes on humanism, why he makes it radical, what are the elements he is giving with respect to this radical humanism. He also gives ways of how radical humanism can be achieved by means of education, okay, by the nature of political systems. He says radical democracy has to be there, partyless democracy has to be there. We have to redevise the way political systems are done, okay. So this is the way Roy talks of radical humanism. So let's see. Firstly, we say that yes, he's a philosopher and revolutionary of 20th century. Now, obviously, we have to highlight his idea of radical humanism within the spirit of the question. So he says social reconstruction of the world as a commonwealth, which means all individuals will look at each other as one, all right? And fraternity has to be there, which is guided by freedom, and also cooperative endeavor, which means moral character also has to be very strong. So let's see. He maintained what? That philosophical revolution is very important before any social revolution that takes place, right? So he is very unsatisfied with liberalism, parliamentary democracy, Marxism, and that's why importance of need for a new kind of socio-economic and political philosophy, right? So in his work, New Humanism, a manifesto, right, and Reason, Romanticism, and Revolution, he is talking of these philosophy. So what is humanism? Refers to attitude of mind which gives importance to the man and the thinking capacity of man, intellectual capacity, all right? And he talks of three key aspects: rationality, morality, and freedom. And he says that it is scientific knowledge, right, which means reason, rationality, which will liberate man from any existing prejudices towards others, towards society, towards other races, other people, all right? And New Humanism, sovereignty of man on the authority of modern science as well, all right? So he says, because there are a lot of crises that is there in the modern civilization, we need to create a new world of liberty, social justice, and revolution. And that's why he says education is very, very important, all right? And obviously he also talks of this integration and a world community which is where human dignity will be supreme. So this human dignity is something that has to be preserved in the future, all right? So in this way, Roy is also trying to give a very different and unique philosophy or philosophical revolution. All right? Fine. Thank you so much. All the very best. We'll meet tomorrow now.